So this is what the Disney magic looked like before. This is what it looks like now. Ooh, just a little bit different. It's still going to maintain those geometric shapes and the symmetrical patterns, but as you can see, a few things changed. We got rid of that huge chandelier and made it a little bit more muted, a little bit more in control. That opened up the lobby atrium to make it look a lot bigger than it is. We also knocked down one of those staircases. Again, these ships are supposed to remind you of classic ships of yesteryear. If it's going to remind you of a classic ship of yesteryear, what other ship has a grand staircase with a statue at the bottom and a dome above?
The one we're not allowed to talk about.
The one we're not allowed to talk about, exactly, Hannah, you know. What time is crafts in here, by the way?
10:45.
10:45, awesome, we have plenty of time then. So again, we redid the lobby atrium here as well as every guest area on the ship, those staterooms and everything like that, but it still maintains Art Deco with those big bright colors and geometric shapes. Let's look at her sister ship, the Disney Wonder. This is what the Disney Wonder looked like as the picture zooms out. Now it doesn't have an Art Deco theme, it has Art Nouveau. Art Nouveau lends itself to nature, lots of vines, flowers, and leaves. You're going to find lots of patterns in nature, so very asymmetrical. Lots of muted colors as well. The colors are so bright, but they're not as vivid. They're going to be a little bit more dark. So here in the Art Nouveau motif of the Wonder, you have Ariel as the statue. When Ariel is in the water, there isn't a straight line on her. She's a perfect embodiment of Art Nouveau. You can see the colors there at the bottom of Triton's door. That's one of the rotational dining restaurants. Those colors, again, are going to be colors you're going to find in nature. A lot of colors you're going to find in Art Nouveau come from a peacock. So you'll see lots of those colors there. Again, this ship was very tropical when it debuted back in 1999, but if this ship is going to sail to Alaska, they needed to tone things down just a bit. So in November of last year, 2016, the Wonder got her complete reimagination, and this is what she looks like now. Again, just a little bit different. The chandelier changed that beautiful chrysanthemum red flower. We've got the vines and the leaves on the ceiling, again, asymmetrical. And the carpets and colors changed just a little bit to give it more of an elegant feel that could really fit in anywhere around the world. Now, you don't have to be a Disney super fan to notice all the Disney details around the ship. You're going to notice hidden Mickeys in a lot of areas built into the architecture of the ship, like the elevator shafts. This is what the elevator shaft still looks like on the Disney Magic. And while we do share an Art Deco motif, if you're just joining us, Art Deco is going to be geometric shapes and symmetrical patterns. We have that in our lobby atrium too. You're going to see a lot of that around our ship, but our elevator shaft is just a little bit different. The ironwork in the elevator is celebrating dreams coming true. That's what we're doing on the ship. And at the bottom there's a trumpet that's blasting music into the air, and as the music notes go up, those turn into stylized Mickey Mouses. So you'll see Mickey Mouse kind of squashed and turned in different artistic ways. There is, though, at the top, one hidden Mickey at the top and then Mickey at the bottom, but everything else is going to be stylized in between. Also, we've got our friends here in these bronze panels that are across the lobby atrium. Now, this is the ones that you're going to see on our smaller ships, the Magic and Wonder. Those are the characters working. They're doing things that they've done for years. Mickey's an entertainer. Pluto is a lifeguard. We've got Clarabelle Cow as your personal instructor up there. And Minnie is baking a cake in the pastry. Now, the characters have been working for a long time. I mean, those ships have been going on the water for now 19 years, 19 to 18 years. So we needed a break. Those characters now on the Dream and Fantasy are doing things that you do. They're enjoying Pirate Night. They're enjoying a nice romantic evening on the promenade deck. So take a close look. You're going to see those characters enjoying the same things you guys get to. When it came time to expand our operation of the fleet, we had bigger ships, which meant we had more room for all of our guests to file in. And we had to make our dock just a little bit bigger. This is our home port in Port Canaveral. We're the only cruise line that have our own port there at Port Canaveral. We're leasing that area from the Port Authority. And this building is also one that we operate. Now, while our ships are supposed to look like those classic ships of yesteryear at the turn of the century, this building is supposed to harken back to another era of the great American travel, around the 50s and 60s, when you would pack up the station wagon and go to coast, or maybe you would take a Greyhound around the country. That's what this retro terminal is supposed to feel like. We also had to expand the operation and make room for more cars parking at Port Canaveral, so we had to add the parking garage and the little tunnel that'll connect those two as well. So again, this is our own home port in Port Canaveral. Now, when we did design the new ships, we didn't simply copy and paste from the older ships, because they've been on the water for 10 years. Some of those things weren't really relevant anymore, and guests have been sailing on those ships. We knew they weren't going to sail on the same thing just with a new name, so we had to redesign the ship completely. We made it bigger and better. And this actually is a philosophy that comes to us from Walt Disney. He had his silly symphonies, and within the silly symphonies, the Three Little Pigs were very popular. So much so that audiences demanded more. They wanted a sequel from the Three Little Pigs, so Walt came out with a sequel. They wanted more, so another sequel was made. Guess what? 4 movies from the Three Little Pigs were made. And usually, as you know, sequels don't do as well as the original. And in this instance, well, the receipts showed it. The box office receipts went down, the reviews went down, audiences didn't really care for the sequels. And Walt noticed something. He just said, we just took the same thing and did it again. His quote was, "You can't top pigs with pigs." And that's what we kind of live by with the company today. If we do come out with something new, we want it to be bigger and better than the last one. So we didn't just simply create, start from scratch with the blueprints. Sorry, that's what we did. We didn't copy and paste. Before we move on, though, these are the Three Little Pigs. I want to point out some of the humor that was in this scene. You see there's a portrait of their father in the upper right corner that's just sausage links. They had a crude sense of humor back then. So as we go forward, this is concept art of the ship. This was a very early concept art of the ship. They wanted to make the ship bigger, but they added some of the things that are currently on the smaller ships. If you guys did sail on the Magic or Wonder, you'll note that the Walt Disney Theater is one theater. There's no balcony. We said we wanted to up the game a little bit. We didn't want it to look like a cruise ship theater. We wanted it to look like a Broadway theater. So that's why we added our balcony here on board, also allowing more guests to see those shows. If we go to the back of the ship, you can see the Buena Vista Movie Theater is on the back of the ship on the classic ships. But that was a little bit confusing because guests were going to one theater thinking it was the other. Very similar names, Walt Disney Theater, Buena Vista Theater, both could mean the same thing if you go to the same place. So we said, listen, it was confusing for our guests to go from one end to the other. Let's put them right next to each other. That's why the Buena Vista Theater is so close to the Walt Disney Theater on our ship. If you do go to the wrong theater, it's just a quick walk down the hallway to get to the right place. Our other ships do have a water slide here on the back side of the funnel that ends into a pool. We said, how do we make that better? I know, let's make the first water coaster at sea. That's what that water slide was turned into as well. And we do live on board. I do have to say that because a while ago a guest did ask us if we come in from Orlando every night. And we're like, how will we get there? A crew member made a joke and said, oh yeah, we take a helicopter and it drops us off every morning. That is a 7th-generation family-owned company in Germany. It was built indoors in the largest ship construction facility in the world. It was built indoors because in Germany it's very cold and very rainy and very snowy. So over the 18 months it took to build, we wanted a climate-controlled environment. That allowed us to add all the special details to the ship that we wanted to add. This gentleman over here, his name is Captain Tom. He's had a long and illustrious career sailing the 7 seas, and he was the first crew member hired by Disney Cruise Line. He's been the captain of all 4 of our ships. Since he's been the captain of all 4 of our ships, and he's done so very successfully, we granted him the title Commodore. He is now the Commodore of our ships. Which is interesting because Donald Duck is the Admiral of the Disney Dream. Admiral is one step above Commodore. Don't let him know that. It'll go to Donald's head too. So once again, you can see this building is so large, you could actually build 2 ships at the same time. That's what's happening right here with our ships in this instance. So again, I'm going to step through some more images really quickly. This is the very back of the ship here. I want to show you, the next image is neat, but it goes by really quickly. It's the lobby atrium cut in half. This blue area right here, here's the staircase that hasn't been added, deck 3, 4, and 5. When you entered on your very first day, you entered through this door to get into the ship, or the door right above it, excuse me. Can I stop? Well, allow me to stop. Stop. There we go. So again, the ship is being built inside this facility. We're going to watch it all come together in just a few moments, but I do want to point out a few more things. The lifeboats haven't been added, but these are built into the structure of the ship, so they go up and above to make sure that they can be fully accounted on. Here in the lobby atrium, though, I want to point out something the Imagineers did, which I think is brilliant. Here on deck 3 and deck 4, those are really big decks, right? For all the entertainment offerings we have there. We're on deck 4 currently. Deck 5 is just a little bit shorter, though. Does anyone have kids that they dropped off at the kids club on board? Anyone? No? Have you at least walked down by the kids clubs? Okay. Have you noticed that the ceiling is a little bit lower in some areas? And especially if you're going into the kids club, you might have to duck to go in. Well, the Imagineers did that on purpose. They wanted a space where the kids feel at home, the kids feel comfortable, the kids feel in charge, and maybe the adults feel a little out of place. Why is that? Well, we know that this is Disney and we want to cruise together as a family, But we also need some more alone time. So the kids have a place to go, and the adults got a place where the adults gonna go to the bars, where there are no kids. So that's kind of a hint to the Imagineers to subtly put you where they want you to go. So this was the 687th ship built by Meyer. Werft 687. Where does that sound familiar? That's where the moon is right now. Yeah, this is celebrating the making of the Disney Dream. And actually, if you look in the back wall, there's a Disney D made out of steel from the ship and 6 circles. Those 6 circles chronicle the process it takes to build a ship, starting with the blueprints, going into the steel cutting and the block assembly. That's how the room is laid out too. That very first booth has the blueprints of the ship. And as you go around, you can see the ship in various stages of construction, finally leading to the delivery of the ship. It's all complete, ready to go to Disney. So like I said, this was the 687th ship. It was the largest ship this company had built at the time. The Disney Fantasy was the 688th ship built. So on their ship, you'll see 688 in a few places. They don't have a pub 688, they have a country in their bars, and it's the O'Gill's Irish pub. So, like I said, you had to call this ship 687 during the construction process. It is unlucky to call a ship by its name until it's complete. So the very last thing added to the outside of the ship before final detail work, once the ship is floating on water, you can call it the Disney Dream. That's the very last thing they added to the outside of the ship before they started working on the finishing touches. So, you watched it all happen together step by step. Let's watch the entire process happen. This is 18 months in 60 seconds. So here you can see the very front of the ship. You're going to see the Walt Disney Theater in just a moment. Next you're going to see trap doors. They're big holes in the floor. That's for all the set pieces and all the actors during the shows. Those big holes right there. That's how we get down below. Here's the bridge. That's the part that sticks out. That's deck 10. Right above that is the spa. All those windows on the bridge have windshield wipers, of course, for inclement weather they can see. This is now the port side of the ship and the back side. You can see there's another ship being built at the same time. Here's Cabanas and Remy. Remy was voted the best cruise ship restaurant of any cruise line in the entire world for this year. Here's the aqueduct coming together. And at the very highest point when you board the aqueduct, you're also on deck 14. And there's the beautiful Disney Dream. So, that's the ship. And I did mention a few things. Disney Cruise Line was the first to do a lot. We were the first to do fireworks at sea, which tonight, weather permitting, we will try to get to you guys. Hopefully Mother Nature will, be on our side for that one. The fireworks are pretty cool. We're the first cruise line to do rotational dining. Those 3 restaurants you guys get to eat in, we didn't want you to fight which ones to go over, so we assigned them to you. Other cruise lines picked up on that and said, that's a good idea, we should do that. We were the first ones. We were the first cruise lines to do staterooms with families in mind. So a lot of our staterooms have a different shower and a different toilet so that people can get ready at different times doing different things. We were the first cruise line to have yellow lifeboats. That's because the Coast Guard said you need orange lifeboats. And we said, nah, we want yellow ones. So we had to prove to the Coast Guard, you can see that from the sky just as easy as orange. We were the first cruise line to have an aqua coaster at sea, so that aqueduct upstairs. First cruise line to do separate kids, teens, and tween clubs on board, because we know there's lots of families sailing. And we are the first cruise line, and still the only cruise line, one of the only, to have our own private island that we can dock our ship at most of the time. So Castaway Cay, obviously. We're going to do our best to get there at 10:30, like the captain said, so everyone cross your fingers and hope we can get out and enjoy the island. Other than that, though, there's some interesting facts you might want to know about Castaway. Who has been to Castaway before? All right, so you guys have seen the island, see how it's spread out. I want to let you know a little bit of information about it, though. It is our private island, but we don't actually own it. We are in a lease with the Bahamian government, so the Bahamas still owns the land. They're just letting us use it. We paid for it. There is 1,000 acres on this island. Only 55 of it is able to be developed for our use on the island. So right now we're about 54.8. There's not much more we can add other than like a little porta potty or something. But that's what we can use on the island. Because we do have bigger ships coming there, we had to expand our pier to make sure the larger ships could fit. It's kind of cut off from the screen right now. But the area underneath the ship is 35 feet deep. That's what we dredged out to make sure those ships could fit into the harbor. When you used to pull into Castaway, we used to see the Flying Dutchman from the Pirates of the Caribbean films. Who remembers seeing the pirate ship at Castaway? Yeah. It was the actual movie set. It was built for exterior and interior scenes for the Pirates movies. They brought it down here once they were done using it. And since it was built as a movie set, it was not built to withstand hurricane force winds, and unfortunately, it was damaged. So it was removed from Castaway. It's no longer there. But if we do get into the island today, we'll check it out. Since the water is choppy, I wouldn't recommend it if we did go today anyway. So next time you guys come with us, the Snorkel Lagoon has a few cool things in there. And there's actually a submarine from the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea attraction buried in that Snorkel Lagoon. You'll be able to see that. But with high winds and choppy current, it's almost impossible to see things underwater. So if we do the snorkel today, I would not recommend it, just as a friendly little recommendation there. The pathways that lead all the way through Castaway are red. The Imagineers did this on purpose. They also did this with every Disney park since Disneyland in 1955. Any guesses as to why the concrete is red? There's two possible answers. For royalty rolling out the red carpet? Yes, that is the second inadvertent happy accident answer, so that does still apply. But the actual reason is because back in 1955, they wanted to, those Imagineers are very tricky, they wanted their park to seem as beautiful as possible. So with red concrete and green grass, red and green are complete opposites on the color wheel, which means those colors stand out so much brighter. So if you put red next to green, they're gonna pop, they're gonna seem so much greener than the grass actually is. It's just an optical illusion. So we do that with every Disney park now. Red concrete going makes the green pop out that much more. There's about 100 to 150 crew members that live on the island in these buildings right here. These buildings are below the tree line to give you the illusion that Castaway is just a day stay island. You wouldn't be able to spend the night there. But those buildings house lifeguards, some managers. They house maintenance crew members, some horticulturalists, and some people that will take care of our animals on the island. We have 71 stingrays that are in this little stingray area. There's one male, his name is Mr. Buttons, and there are 70 females. The largest female, her name is Megatron. She's adorable. On the island, of course, we had our first family beach. More guests meant more family coming to the island. We had to expand our operation to include our water slide complex. So it's there on the side of the island there. So the water slide complex, Pelican Plunge, and our family cabanas. Now there's another thing that happened at Castaway before we owned it. A movie was filmed here actually in the 80s. Does anybody know what movie was filmed at Castaway Cay? By chance? It was in the 80s. Starred Tom Hanks.
Castaway?
No. Splash.
Okay.
Splash with our mermaid, right? So that was filmed here at the island before we owned it. This island's been here for a while. It was previously known as Gorda Key. It took 2 years and $26 million to develop the island, to put electricity, running water, and things like that for you. Hopefully we can see it today. If not, I do apologize, but come back and sail with us again. Trust me, if we can't get in there today, the island is not a fun place to be. We're better off on the ship anyway. So other than that, I can open the room up to any questions you guys might have. I talked about the past of Disney Cruise Line. I talked about the present. The future is actually really neat. We've got 3 new ships coming down the fleet. 3 brand new ships in 2021, 2022, and 2023. They're going to be built by the same company that built the Dream and the Fantasy, but they're going to be slightly larger. We don't know how much larger. They said slightly larger. We don't know anything else, though. We don't know the names of those ships. We do not know the itineraries. We don't know what shows in the Walt Disney Theater they're going to have. Speaking of shows, who saw Beauty and the Beast last night? What did you guys think? It's the biggest show we've ever done. 1,000 costumes are in that show. Some actors in the Be Our Guest scene have 6 costume changes. It's incredible. So I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. Of course, we're going to do it again tonight if you guys want to see it again. It is a very popular show, so we're going to give you as many chances as we can to check out that beautiful, beautiful show. All right, does anybody have any questions about living and working on a cruise ship, about Disney specifically? I can answer them now. Yes?
So that other ship that you said was in the inside the building, was that the Fantasy?
directly followed it?
We don't know. He asked if the building that was the ship being built at the same time was the Fantasy. I keep looking at the pictures. It doesn't look like the Fantasy because some areas are differently shaped. But at this point, there's no way to directly confirm that. We can check. But it does take 18 months for the ship to be built. Once this ship was almost complete, the Fantasy started construction. So it's possible that ship was a smaller one, got out of the way, and then the Fantasy started being built there. Yes, 18 months, and the ships are about 14 months apart, so 4-month overlap between the two ships. Yes?
I'm just curious, approximately how much a ship costs.
$900 million.
Wow.
$900 million. What's interesting though, we are $900 million. That is 4,000 guests on board and 14 decks. The largest ship on the ocean, I believe, is 1.5 billion, and it fits 7,000 guests. But they only have a few more decks higher. I think they go up to like deck 20. So this is a few more decks, and we're able to just cram in that much more for just a little bit less money. No, I'm reversing that. They have a huge ship. We have a smaller ship. We're only about 600. Am I doing my math right? 600 million off, which means our ship still has all those great details. They just have more space for people. More questions? Yes?
When they built the ship in that warehouse in Germany, how did they move it to the water, or how did they do that? Was that right?
Yeah, just like the Panama Canal locks and things like that. It's a locked off area that then they fill with water, and then once it's up to a certain area, they just open the doors and sail it out. The pictures of it are really cool. I don't know if there's any pictures of it in here sailing out, but it's really neat. You can Google it. Any more questions about living on a ship? What it's like? Anything you've always been curious? Sure?
How much time do you get off during the day?
How much time do we get off during the day? I get enough. I get a lot of rest period on board. There's actually international laws that state you cannot work more than 14 hours a day. Yeah, it seems like a lot, but when you're stuck at sea, there's not much else you can do. You do have to get breaks off for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and you're not allowed to work more than 14 hours a day. That is illegal. I'm only going to work about 10 hours today. Today, maybe 11 hours since we didn't get to do everything we were supposed to. They're going to add more events, but it's really, what else am I going to do? My job is awesome. I get to dance with Mickey Mouse. I get to, help shoot off fireworks.